So sales can get you to 1 million, but it's marketing that gets you to 10 million and beyond. And it really doesn't matter if you're a venture-backed startup or a family-run business, marketing is always the critical unlock for guaranteed growth. And I would know, because over the last 25 years, I built 8 companies to over 8 figures and invested over $40 million in marketing tests. That's why I wanted to give you the 10 timeless marketing principles that I wish that I had tattooed on my forehead decades ago. These are principles that worked then, they're principles that work now, and they're principles that are still gonna work 20 years from now, even, and I would argue especially, in the age of AI. So let's get into it. Principle 1, choose your enemies wisely. Now I think it's important to remember that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. So if no one hates your brand, then it's likely that no one loves it either. And that's why you need to be intentional about choosing your enemies. I mean, think about Apple in the early days. They chose IBM as their enemy. You can't say you're for something if you aren't also against something. So decide right now, who or what are you against? Who is the monster that you're gonna help your customers throw rocks at? Now, for me, for us here at the Scalable Company, it's hustle culture, and it's entrepreneurial imposter syndrome, and it's the bankers and the VCs and the private equity twerps who tell founders that they need adult supervision if they're gonna scale their own companies. Look, screw those guys, and I mean it, and if you feel the same way that I do, then you're in the right place. But here's the biggie, right? When it comes to choosing your enemy, just make sure that you can actually beat them, okay? Pepsi chose Coke as an enemy over and over again. They still do. But it didn't work because everyone still prefers Coke. So whether your enemy is a rival brand, an industry practice, a culture, or an emotional state, choose your enemy and then make your enemy unmistakable. Pound them in the face. The people who agree with you, they're gonna join in, and they're gonna be fans for life. And the people who don't, well, they were never your customer anyway. Principle number 2, revenue first, brand second. Brand matters, it does, but the primary goal of marketing must be revenue. If your marketing isn't making money, then your marketing by definition is worthless. Now to be clear, I don't recommend trashing your brand, of course not, but some of the most successful companies in the world have also recovered from some of the most serious brand damaging PR nightmares. I mean, Wells Fargo Bank got caught creating fake bank accounts.
John Blackstone says now the bank may be seeing withdrawals of public trust.
They're still around. I'm not suggesting that you do any of these things as a marketer. I believe that great marketing is great branding, because great branding is anything that makes a memorable deposit of relational equity. So yes, create marketing that informs, create marketing that entertains, create marketing that makes people laugh and cry and feel really warm and fuzzy inside, and make sure that your company gets the credit for that. But don't do any of these things without a clear revenue motive, because at its core, marketing is a revenue function, not a creative function. Principle number 3, know what you're selling. At the end of the day, people are only ever buying one of 2 things: transformation and identity reinforcement. If you're a luxury brand like Chanel, Hermes, or Rolex, then congratulations, you're in the identity reinforcement business. I mean, no woman is buying a Birkin bag because she needs a purse just to hold her glasses and her makeup, right? And no man is buying a Rolex because he's constantly confused about what time it is today. People buy these products because of what these brands signal about them and who they are and who they believe themselves to be to the rest of the world, the identity that they want to be reinforced. Now, reality check, all right? Less than 1% of the brands in the world are luxury brands. So unless you're marketing for LVMH or Rolls-Royce or La Mer or Hermes or Chanel or Louis XIII, you get the idea? You're selling transformation. Now, to sell transformation, you need to be able to clearly articulate your prospects' before state while also painting a clear picture of their desired after state, and then you need to show how your company's product or service is the ideal vehicle to transport them from this terrible before state to this ideal after state. Now this works because by sharing the before, you're showing empathy, and by envisioning the after, you're offering hope. Empathy plus hope is the formula for selling transformative products. It's not hard, it's not really complicated, but it's also not sexy. And that's the problem. Too many marketers take their cues from luxury brands because let's face it, luxury branding is sexy. Luxury branding wins all the awards. But selling sexy only works if you're selling identity reinforcement, which again, most marketers aren't, and that likely includes you. Principle number 4, it's about the customer, stupid. James Carville was Bill Clinton's campaign strategist during the 1992 presidential election. Now, today, we know Bill Clinton as the 42nd president of the United States, but at the time, America just saw him as a paunchy country bumpkin from Nowheresville, Arkansas. So, how did James Carville transform this nobody into a president? Well, it was simple. Carville hung a sign in Clinton's campaign headquarters with 3 key messages for staff to stay focused on. Message 1 was change versus more of the same. Message 2 was, don't forget healthcare, and message 3,
it's the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, stupid, became the campaign's unofficial slogan. And it worked because the economy was all that voters cared about.
Stay focused. Talk about things that matter to people.
And it's with this inspiration that I want to hang a sign on every marketer's wall. It's the customer, stupid. The number of campaigns I see that talk about a product or its features or how great the company is or how long it's been in business is enough to make me vomit. Because look, nobody cares about this. Certainly not the customer, because it's the customer, stupid. Businesses are not defined by the products they sell or how they sell them. Businesses are defined by the people they serve. Great brands get this, which is why great brands could really go into almost any market and win. I mean, think about it. Chick-fil-A. If you love Chick-fil-A, then you know what Chick-fil-A is all about. And if Chick-fil-A decided, we're gonna open movie theaters, you'd go and you would know what to expect. Because these brands aren't purely defined by the products that they sell. They're defined by the people they serve and the way that they serve them. But to pull this off, you need to actually talk to your customers. Marketing is not just this guess and test, throw a bunch of stuff up against a wall and see what sticks. Marketing is research and test and talk and test some more and then scale. I believe that you can't call yourself a marketer if you haven't talked to at least 25 of your customers. So have you? Principle 5, message over medium. Targeting is dead. It just is. Today, the most valuable target is the untargeted target you target through messaging. Did you get that? All right, here's the deal. Back in the 50s and 60s, the whole Mad Men era, marketing and ad people, they understood that the messaging was really the thing that mattered the most. If you had the right message, you could pretty much run it on any channel, which is good because at the time there were really only about 3 channels.
Things go better with Coke. Right now, why not let an ice-cold Coke make things go better for you?
Then, fast forward a few decades, along comes Google and along comes Facebook. And with that, they told us that targeting was the solution to all of our problems. Now, the messaging really didn't matter as much because you could put just the perfect message in front of the perfect exact right person at the perfect exact right time. And you know what? For a while, it actually worked. But guess what? Those days are over. With the rise of privacy concerns and the emergence of AI, the ability for marketers to micro-target is all but gone. So today, the only tool that marketers have that will give them an edge is the messaging they write. And funny enough, now that everyone is using AI to write their copy, it's easier than ever to break through the noise because everyone's copy sounds like it was written by a freaking robot because you know what? It was. Learn to write copy and learn to write copy that cuts through the noise, that grabs people by the throat, and that makes them say, for the love of all that is good and right, take my money now. If you can master messaging, you'll never be poor. Principle number 6, don't propose marriage on a first date. All right, quick story. So when I first started dating my wife, I knew after about the 3rd date that she was the woman that I was gonna marry. I just knew. Really, I probably knew after the 1st or 2nd date, but this is important, okay? I didn't tell her that because I knew that would be creepy, right? I knew it, and I knew it would scare her off. You see, there's a sequence to human intimacy, and while some relationships progress faster than others, there's a sequence and a series of steps that you simply can't skip. And marketing is the same because at the end of the day, marketing, when it's done right, is simply romance. It's business romance. That's what marketing is. So how will you get your prospect to notice you? And when they do, how will you engage them in conversation? And when you're talking, how will you get their number, get their digits, like the kids used to say? so that you can call them later. By the way, nobody really says, can I get your digits anymore? But I did. And that's how you know I'm old. All right, so how are you gonna get their digits? How are you gonna get their numbers so that you can call them back later? And when they do call, when you call them, what are you gonna suggest that you do on a first date, and a second date, and a third? And when does it make sense to finally pop the question? Look, when you realize that marketing is romance and you stop proposing marriage on the first date, this is when you become a better marketer. Marketing is romance, romance your customers. Principle 7, marketing doesn't stop when a sale is made. All right, I wanna stick with the relationship analogy for just a little bit longer. Hang with me. Marketing shouldn't stop when a sale is made, just like dating shouldn't stop when you're married. I'm trying to imagine if my wife were to ask me, hey, let's go out to dinner. And I were to respond with something like, well, why would I bother taking you out? I mean, we're already married. She would slap me, and I would deserve it. But this is what marketers do all the time. We get the lead, we say, wham bam, thank you ma'am, and we throw that over the fence to sales. And then sales hands it off to a product or services, and everyone just kind of washes their hands of the matter, and they move on. This is why marketing needs to be involved in the entire customer journey, from the point of awareness to helping sales with their decks and enablement resources, and even building tools and resources and messaging to help sell the product to customers even after they bought it, to make sure that it sticks and to make sure that they get value. Marketing is not a lever that you pull to create awareness and leads. Marketing, done right, is the grease that lubricates the assembly line that transforms strangers into friends, friends into customers, and customers into raving, repeat buying, and referring fans. Principle 8, make your marketing as long as it needs to be and not a word longer. Now, you don't have to be a physics major to know that the formula for force is F equals ma. In other words, force equals mass times acceleration. And while this applies to nature, it also applies to marketing, because in marketing, the heavier the message, the greater the mass of a message, multiplied by the faster it's delivered, the more forceful that message is going to be. When weak messages are delivered quickly, and this is happening all the time right now on social media, nothing happens. Similarly, you can have a really big, powerful message, but if it's delivered very slowly, if it's rolled out, if it's just gobs and gobs of prose that nobody sees because it's boring, nothing's gonna happen. So be quick, but at the same time, don't believe the lie that people's attention spans have changed. Attention spans have not changed. What has changed is our options. Our options have changed. The same people who can't be bothered to watch a 10-minute YouTube video will binge watch 18 hours of their favorite Netflix series in a single weekend. The problem is never too long. The problem is always too boring. Learn to be entertaining. Learn to be funny. The best marketers I know how to get people to laugh, how to tell a joke at a funeral without being weird or disrespectful. And above all else, learn to tell stories. Learn to tell stories of transformation, stories of triumph, stories of hope, stories of conquering a common enemy. While information may capture someone's attention for a moment, the only mechanism we have available to us to actually hold on to that attention is entertainment. As my mentor Roy H. Williams likes to say, entertainment is the only currency available today that can purchase the attention of a too distracted public. So don't worry about being too long. Worry about being too boring. Principle 9, don't chase shiny objects. This one is important because, whoa, this is one that a lot of marketers mess up. New channels and new media are popping up all the time, and it's easy to get distracted by the latest trends. How do you know which trends to jump in on? How do you know which trends are the next TikTok? And how do you know which trends to avoid? Because, well, maybe they're the next Clubhouse. Well, the answer is simple. Just follow your customers. Just follow your customers. I mean, if your customers are there, then guess what? You should be there too. And if they're not there, then don't worry. Don't feel pressured. You don't have to be there either. And if you want to jump in to test it out, fine, test it out. Just make sure that you're not jumping in just so that you can look cool in front of your fellow marketers. We're there because our customers are there. It's the only good reason to jump in on a trend or jump into a new channel. Principle 10, under-promise and over-deliver. This is big, write this down. Never let your marketing write a check that your product can't cash. In fact, I recommend that you choose to market products and services that are so great that you can actually undersell them and still blow people's minds. By the way, that is the big secret to success as a marketer, having something that is actually worth talking about, having something that when people get, when they consume, they're happy that they did it. And it's in that spirit, I know that I promised you 10 principles, but I'm gonna give you a few more because Like we talked about, the best marketing doesn't just make promises, it actually over-delivers. So, all right, these are coming at you quick. Principle 11, write offers, not slogans. Look, slogans may win awards, but it's offers that make sales. Nobody has ever pulled their wallet out or their credit card out because of a clever slogan. Principle 12, be willing to pay for attention. This argument of organic versus paid and inbound versus outbound, this is a stupid debate. It's like asking if you should eat cake or ice cream at a buffet. The answer is yes, we want both cake and ice cream because they're delicious and they're even better together. If your product is great and your messaging works, you should be willing to pay for people to see it. At the same time, if word of mouth never starts to take over, if a brand never starts to build up its own momentum and have its own leverage, then you likely don't have a marketing problem. You probably have a product problem. Principle 13, clarity beats cleverness. Look, if your customer has to think twice, you've already lost them. So stop trying to be witty, stop trying to be cute, just say what you mean what you say, and get on with it. Principle 14, balance data with gut. Data should rule the day 9 times out of 10, but sometimes you need to trust your instincts and trust your gut and just do the things that can't be tracked. Sometimes something doesn't make sense, but it's right anyway. So in those times, trust your judgment. And finally, principle 15, love thy customer. If you don't sincerely love your customer, if you don't sincerely yearn for their happiness and their success, you're never gonna win. It really is as simple as that. Empathy is the most valuable skill in marketing, and I believe it's the only skill that cannot be taught. And to that end, I want you to know that I do love you. I mean it. If you're in marketing, if you're in business, if you're out there competing in the marketplace, I want you to know that I am rooting for you. And if I can do anything to help you be more successful, please let me know. Also, if one of these principles punched you in the gut, if it hit you, I'd love to know which one. And also, subscribe if you want more unfiltered stuff like this that most business owners are too scared to say. With that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.